And we're now into the second game of Beachhead 2025, in which the Lysimachid army, which features 2 elephants, one of the mandatory things that you have to have in every army for this competition, comes up against a medieval army in the second game. And clearly medieval armies are pretty unlikely to have elephants and pretty unlikely to have camels, so chances are it's going to be fielding war wagons, possibly with artillery. Let's go have a look what that army is and what the setup is. And yep, you can see here these particular wagons here, I think these are substitutes actually, but they're lovely, so let's let them on. This is the Communal Italian army. It's got spearmen, it's got these anti-elephant war wagons, which normally war wagons are just a stack of sticks really, so an elephant hitting them will shatter them quite dramatically, apart from specialist anti-elephant ones which can be pushed into the enemy, they can be pushed into combat, they're really good against elephants. I don't think the Communal Italians designed them for use against elephants. It was probably to break up enemy formations or break up knights, but it does fall under that same catch-all category of war wagons which are competent against elephants. And here are my 2 elephants, the blue one and the red and green one. And you've got this Communal Italian here army, looks like some archers, crossbowmen there, some dismounted knights in the middle, loads of spearmen, some cavalry at the back. Pretty tightly packed army, pretty dense, sort of sitting there defensively with that hill as a bit of some terrain here as well. And what I've got all my pikemen, those 2 commands butted up. The Thracians here, there's a bit of terrain, they're able to make a rush for it with a bit of luck. So the elephants sat in the middle, 6 pikemen, 2 elephants. There'll be a spearman here as well, probably my cavalry lurking on this side. And it just looks like the game is going to be to assault this big long line of troops belonging to the Don. So let's have a look at what that army was. This is working, I think, from left to right. You've got the Wagon X, anti-elephant war wagon, a couple of lightfoot bow, 2 knights, 2 spearmen, light horse bow, some mixed spear shooters. They can do some damage on the way in. The elite papal guard type spearmen, 2 medium knights. They're probably the ones at the end. Those are probably foot knights then, I imagine, dismounted, and a brilliant general. 3 impetuous knights. I'm pretty sure they have dismounted because I've got elephants. You're allowed to dismount anybody if there's elephants in the opposing army, just to level things up. And then those other 2 wagons on the other side, and pretty much a sort of mirror-ish image conceptually, if not in terms of exact makeup, on the other side, built there to absorb damage and sit there and dish it out as you assault it. And here we go, literally assaulting it. We're moving forwards. The elephants, the pikemen, they're all grinding forwards in a big long line. They're ready to go into the foot knights. They're ready to go into possibly, these are polearm guys here, not ideal. The Thracians want to have a go at these anti-elephant wagons, and my other cavalry will be messing about here, I guess, threatening these guys as they advance. Nice solid long advance. Elephants can move, well, elephants do move 3 movement units in ADLG. Heavy infantry can also move 3 if they're a long way away from the enemy, so that allows them to move up in a block quite effectively. But with great generals, with a strategist here, with a brilliant general here as well, I've got enough pips to coordinate them anyway once they get a bit closer. And this army, that doesn't look like it's moving much at the moment. And here it goes. Oh, there is some movement. They have actually inched their way forwards. They've advanced, spread out, probably creating room for the wagons to try and slide in round and get in front of the elephants. That's their whole game. In fact, look, there's the finger of the Don pointing at the elephants, saying to those wagons, hey, go there, get there. That looks like that might be a Joan of Arc figure or something like that. I think I've seen that bowl haircut somewhere before. And some pretty classic old school guys here, ready with their things, fighting these rather hairy and anachronistic Thracians racing towards them. And can the wagons get there before the elephants smash into that big hole? Let's find out. Well, look at this forest of pikemen, all with the probably didn't really exist bits joining the pikes in the middle, but that just does look cool. And here are the mixed shooters in there, the dismounted knights. They're pretty good against pikemen. The spearmen and the mixed shooter spearmen are pretty poor against pikemen. The elephant wagon hasn't really got an elephant target here. I think it's trying to head into the center, and there's some opportunity to push there on that still open flank, with the delights of February Bournemouth seafront just visible over there in the distance. And whoa, look at that, all sorts of action happening there as the 2 lines clash. But let's take a bit of a deep breath and see what's really happening here. So the pikemen, without really that much choice, they've just slammed into the polearm guys and the spear guys on this other side. The cavalry looks like they've whizzed all the way around here actually, and come in to threaten the end of that line. So we've got a Thracian in against spearmen. That's ideal. Two-handed cutting weapons, as wielded by the Thracians, win against spearmen if there's a tied result. These guys are going to be +1 up. The polearm guys are not quite as dangerous as they might have been in previous editions of the rules, and God, even though God is clearly on the side of the other Italians here. So getting closer to the other side of the table, you can see the spearmen with crossbowmen behind them are pinging crossbow bolts into these slingers and bowmen who are protecting their pikemen. They're acting as ablative shield, as getting the pikemen as close as possible so the pikemen can try and get into combat without taking casualties. If they can do that, that means they'll be 2-1 up when they go in combat. Pike factor is 2, spear factor is 1. That's really what you want, to be doing that all the way along the line. And the elephants are well teed up. Even those wagons are trying to get in the way. They're well teed up to go into the foot knights. And over on this side, the pikemen are not really having it their own way. That's a hit. That's a couple of hits landing on these pikemen as they go into the polearm guys. They might even be armoured, trying to remember the list, so they are a bit tougher than you think. I have got the Thracian into the anti-elephant wagon. I've got another Thracian into these spearmen, so it's not too bad here. And right in the middle, the elephants have taken on the anti-elephant wagons. Even though this isn't an anti-elephant wagon, it's an old school wagon from something else. Lovely bit of kit. So that's got where it wants to be. This is its whole plan in the game. Get in front of elephants, fight elephants. That's the secret. And all these long pikemen are going to try and stab the person with this rather pudding bowl haircut, stab them and stop them doing their anti-elephant malarkey, or whatever it is they're supposed to be. And Bosch, here we go, looking at it from above. The anti-elephant wagon has failed to succeed against elephants, really. It's picked up a red marker, which is probably not good. There's a red marker there, there's a red marker there. These may be single hit markers, I suspect. It might be 2 of them, maybe not, rather than reds, we'll see. But these pikemen are really struggling. They're at 3 hits, they're at 2. But the Thracians have blasted their way through the other wagon. That's created a big hole, and if you look here, that's kind of a lack of reserves, really, for this one. And this does also look like that's my cavalry going into the rough terrain to come round the back and cause some untold panic as well in this reserve-free part of the battle. Somebody could be sending these foot knights over there. Here comes another anti-elephant wagon as well. But the grind is swinging back and forwards here. These guys are winning. This is a great position to be in. These guys are losing, but they're still pretty tough. But if the elephants knock a hole here, there's some really, really big holes appearing in the middle of that army. And whoomph, the Thracians take another unit out. They've taken out that second unit of spears. You can see there. And suddenly the cavalry are just running free around the back of the army. That's going to be tremendously bad news for the spearmen. In fact, the halberdiers who were fighting these pikemen, they've gone as well. The pikemen have won. So there's a 3-wide block where two-handed cutting weapon against spear, that's always good. Pike against spear, that should be good, even though they've taken some casualties. And now cavalry running in the rear areas as well. That's going to be pretty traumatic. And oh, sorry, I just missed that. Sorry, look, there's the papal signet ring of the McHugh. There it is. Full commitment to the ideological approach of the Communal Italian army there. It's almost as if you're fighting the Pope once you see that, really, and that's a morally difficult thing to do. But here we go. Over on the other side, you've got the pikeman. That one's picked up a couple of hits. I just put the bow cases on there. They're not an actual hit marker. It's just the number of shields. The elephant is sort of now toughing it out against the anti-elephant wagon. This one's trying to get round. Those guys are pushing furiously. Looks like somebody may have faltered here, or maybe not. Pikes against spears, pikes against mixed spears. Yeah, I can't see the mixed shooter, so that means this guy may just have had a victory there. Pikes against foot knights not doing so well. Does the elephant want to go in, or does the elephant want to support against this wagon and see what happens? It's a tough old call, really, for this general here to make a decision what his troops are going to do. And here, over on the other end, we've tried to take out the spearmen frontally with a Zeistafora cavalryman by going into the flank as well with light horse. That should help in a bit, but it hasn't. Even with the extra overlaps, the Zeistafora have been killed by these tough little old spearmen. Look at the metal around those. This must be very heavy shields to do. This guy's still lurking behind, but they are going to still have to turn and deal with this flank attack at some point, which the Thracians will gratefully accept, no doubt, I'm sure. And look, there's Thracians sort of flooding around as well. The pikemen here have started to move into the centre. starting to hit people in the flank as that they exploit this huge gap where the halberdiers have sort of fallen apart. I've lost an elephant somewhere along the line. This other second elephant has been drawn into combat against this wagon, and looks like foot knights are now knocking some very, very big holes in my pike block here. That's quite a big gap. Those two pikemen have fallen to the two-handed cutting weapon, the well-armoured, good quality foot knights to knock a hole in them. The rest of the spears have clearly knocked a hole in something over here as well. But I guess this is denuded of cavalry, isn't it? The cavalry have all gone over there, which really just leaves 4 pikemen and a spearman on this flank, and nothing else to really stop these other knights getting through. But there's still some big damage being done. You know, all these multiple hit markers against these spearmen, spearmen against pikemen. It's just a tough old struggle. But this bit is really collapsing from an Italian point of view. The anti-elephant wagon's got all the way across there. That's an enormous march for a wagon like that. And yeah, that's the end of the deployment zone there. And that was it. That was the point at which the pikemen finally crushed and managed to push into defeat the Communal Italians, really through getting into that left flank of the Italians, the right flank of the Lysimachids, punching through and overwhelming the spearmen and the halberdiers there much more quickly, even though it's a bit of a standoff on the other side. And with those cavalry coming around the back, that gives these mercenary random shield pike dudes with all sorts of different heads that I've collected from all sorts of different sets, ready and happy to go into the next game.